Was even more fun than I thought it would be. We're also going to look ahead to Bellator tomorrow night. We're going to have a chat with Valerie Loretta, Bellator fighter, South Florida native. We're going to hear from her in the 8 o'clock hour. We're going to talk about Font versus Garbrandt, which is coming up this weekend in the UFC. That's a pretty interesting bantamweight scrap coming up. So we have a lot to get to in the fighting world. 7:20, by the way, we're going to talk with Kevin Aioli, who's been a dear friend of mine for many years. When it comes to MMA media members, James, I don't know if there's anyone more consistent, more excellent, and more consistently excellent than Kevin Aioli. This guy is a Hall of Fame boxing writer who's been, writing about mixed martial arts for, I want to say, at least the last 16, 17 years, and he does it at a high level.
And I would bet he's been covering both sports probably longer than most people have been born, especially on the boxing side. That's listening. Most people that's listening, he's excellent.
Yeah, he really is great. So he's we're going to talk about a number of different things with him, including he wrote a really good piece about Rob Font, who's fighting this weekend, and kind of his mental approach now to fighting in a recent corner that he turned. So we got a lot to get into, but first of all, James, the card on pay-per-view this last weekend really delivered. And full disclosure, like we both talked about it last Thursday, that hey, this one doesn't really feel like one that's necessarily worth $70 because people tend to be very selective with the pay-per-views they order. Some people wait for Conor McGregor, some people wait for bigger title fights, and oftentimes the cards that you don't necessarily think are worth shelling out $70 of your hard-earned money for on pay-per-view are the ones that really deliver. I mean, we had an arm broken in half on the prelims.
Yeah.
We had a delayed knockout in the curtain-jerking fight. We had an excellent main event.
By the way, that delayed knockout was weird, man. I never seen anything like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. That was Edson Barboza over Shane Burgos. And I give Barboza credit because I really thought Burgos was going to win this fight.
Yeah.
But if you had told me that Barboza was going to win by knockout, I would have thought for sure he's going to kick him in the head. Like, very rarely do you see Barboza win fights with finishing punches, and he caught Burgos with a big hook. But the crazy thing about it was Burgos seemed to shrug it off. He looked fine. He seemed to completely walk through that punch. And then 5 seconds later, he started to wobble, he stumbled, he fell over, and he was KO'd. Like you said, I've never seen anything like that.
I think the most shocked person in the arena was Edson Barboza.
He's like, what did I do?
Yeah, he didn't know why his opponent was stumbling back and really kind of went out on a delay. And just going back to Barboza, I mean, it's almost like he turned the clock back a few years with the way his leg kicks, his aggressiveness. I mean, Burgos is aggressive. He was coming forward the whole time, and Barboza was keeping him at bay with those leg kicks, and then hit him up with the striking. So props to Barboza. I read just recently he wants an opponent in the top 5. He said pretty much anybody he fights would be an exciting fight in that top 5, which I agree with. But let's see if he can be a little more consistent. If we see that version of Edson Barboza for one more fight, then give him a top 5 fight at that point.
Yeah, I'd be totally cool with that. Elsewhere, I feel bad because we talked so much last week about how this could be last chance saloon for Tony Ferguson.
Yep.
Right. Who hasn't looked himself. He's 35 years old now. You start to see Father Time taking its toll on Ferg. And he got really dismantled and dominated by Beneil Dariush. I mean, the only thing Beneil did not do in this fight was find the finish. I mean, his wrestling, his grappling, he was better than Tony Ferguson in every single area. So what's our big takeaway from this fight? Because I know that a lot of people tend to circle more onto the negativity as far as Tony Ferguson, and maybe we're not giving Dariush as much credit as he deserves. Like, can we agree that even though it's probably fair to say that Tony Ferguson has really gone on the downtrend at this point in recent fights, but can't we also say that was a really impressive performance by Dariush?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're seeing both. In that case, I think you're seeing a guy on the rise that's entering his prime, that's reaching his peak in Dariush. And he was kind of a slow starter, and now he's really on a roll. And you're seeing a guy in Tony Ferguson who has pretty much fell off the cliff in his last 3 fights. And if you think about it, man, it's May. It's only been about 13 months since he was slated to fight Khabib.
Yeah, that's right.
Before the pandemic.
God, he would have been smashed.
And it would have been one of the biggest fights at the time in terms of hype and, people saying, oh, Tony Ferguson has this great, 10-win streak and Khabib's never lost and who's going to win and all that stuff. And 13, 14 months later, one pandemic later, Tony Ferguson is a completely different guy. And it's unfortunate, and the thing I worry about with Tony is that sometimes the fighters are the last people to know.
Yeah.
And that's so unfortunate when, everyone sees it from the outside. You're not the same guy. I just hope he doesn't stick around long enough to just take, just beating after beating when, he's better than that. I mean, in his career, he's had a good career. He's had a great career, but obviously his physical traits aren't where they were, 2-3 years ago.
Right.
And, I think he's going to hang on and keep fighting and try to get that fountain of youth back, man. But I worry that, that there's more of these kind of beatings in store if he keeps fighting top guys and keeps thinking in his mind he's a top guy, fighting these top 10, top 8, top 5 kind of fights.
A lot of fighters become obsessed with this idea that if they don't walk away with a victory, that the end of their career is a failure. I don't even think that's fair, right? Because, look at Anderson Silva. When's the last time this dude won a fight or won a big fight? Does it really matter?
Yeah.
I can look at Anderson Silva. I followed virtually his entire career, in Pride and then through his real dominance in the UFC. I have nothing but positive memories about that guy. And never mind the fact that he kept fighting 6 years past his prime.
Yep.
I still, when I think back on Anderson Silva, who ended his career on a pretty terrible run, win-loss wise. Still was putting up some entertaining fights. I don't think any differently of him, right? The same way that if Tony Ferguson were to retire tonight. Now, I'm not trying to force him into that because listen, if he still feels like he's healthy enough to go in there and keep scrapping, and I do wonder about that, but what do I know? His medicals might all be fine, right? The head scans, maybe there's no risk of CTE, whatever. Every person's different. So if he wants to keep fighting, God bless him, you're entitled to that. But I also think that sometimes fighters, their insistence on, because Donald Cerrone is a big one. He's talked about this, and he lost to Morono a couple of weeks ago. Yep. And which is kind of unfortunate for him because he was originally slated to fight Diego Sanchez, and I think he would have won that Diego Sanchez fight. And maybe that was what he was looking for, to walk away with a victory. Instead, they switch in the young buck when Diego was abruptly released by the UFC, and Cerrone ends up losing that fight. And now I just feel like that dude is going to keep going. And it probably won't even be just one victory he's looking for. He probably doesn't want to retire till he goes on a winning streak because that dude is crazy. But James, I don't think it really matters that much. If a fighter had a great run and a great career, as a fan, I'm going to remember how awesome they were. They don't need to go out on a victory.
Yeah, I agree. You look at guys like Chuck Liddell. He came back, but unfortunately, but he ended on a losing streak, had a great career. Rashad Evans ended up on a losing streak, had a great career.
It's a great examples.
Yeah, as champions. There's plenty of other guys out there. Anderson Silva was a great example of that. No one can erase Tony Ferguson's winning streak that he put on. So, and here's the tricky question. Where does the UFC play a role in this? Because they can release Tony Ferguson. They can say, you know what?
I'm kind of surprised they haven't already. They released Jacare, who got his arm broke.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Feel so bad for that dude.
But Ferguson can still sell tickets. He was just the co-main event coming off a 2-fight losing streak. Now he's a 3-fight losing streak. So it's it's a little less. But people will still want to see Tony Ferguson fight. But still, I think the UFC. They don't have to play a complete role in terms of when to tell guys to stop and things like that. But I think they should at least have a little bit of influence in that. And if they release a guy like Ferguson, that would at least have some influence to where maybe he doesn't want to fight in a Bellator or stuff like that and say,
True.
You know what, this kind of brings perspective to his career. So anyway, he hasn't looked good at all. Just the two guys off the top of my head that have completely fallen off a cliff in such a short span to me are Ferguson and Tyron Woodley.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, just champions, interim champions one day, and in Ferguson's case, interim champion.
And I thought, this is going back a few years, but I thought you mentioned Rashad Evans. That's another great example because from one fight to the next, it's like this guy doesn't have it at all anymore. Yeah. It's like what happened? And Woodley was the same thing, a precipitous drop.
It's a brutal sport that way, unfortunately. It's such a physical sport and training. And, man, I keep going back to our Dean Thomas interview a few weeks ago. He mentioned about the birthdays. A few birthdays passed by. I mean, after your 30s, that's so pivotal. And also another point he mentioned, it was another great thing, is he said there comes a point in training when you're an older fighter where you train not to get hurt instead of training to get better. And he said when you're a young buck and you're hungry, you're just training to get better and you're improving your skills and all those things in your 20s. And then there comes to a point where you just want to get to the fight. You just train not to get hurt. Mm-hmm. And, for every fighter, especially fighters like Ferguson and those guys that have been through the wars, there comes a point where it's like, okay, I don't need an injury. I'm getting paid a lot of money. I'm a champion, interim champion, or I'm fighting the top 5 fight. I just need to get to the fight healthy. I already know how to fight. Maybe I don't need to train as hard. And I think some of that stuff kind of shows sometimes with older fighters. Main
event was fantastic. I mean, it only got a little bit into the second round, but it was good as advertised. I really thought with the way that first round ended that Michael Chandler was going to surprise a lot of people. I mean, he really rocked Oliveira at the end of that round. Chandler, I've loved watching this guy fight for so many years because he's so high pressure and he's so aggressive, and he fights that way because he knows his cardio is going to hold up. Now, this time the cardio wasn't really an option because Oliveira ended up putting his lights out. But, Chandler finished the first round so well. I thought, momentum is really going for him. Oliveira gets the finish in the second round, was landing those beautiful left hooks, rocked him with one earlier in the round, then really hurt him against the cage, followed it up with a couple more of these left hands, and ends up winning the fight by TKO. And listen, our point from last week still stands that this may not feel like the most climactic lightweight title fight because it feels more like an interim title because the dominant champion wasn't beaten. He walked away and retired. That was Khabib. So this was for the vacant title. But I've got to give Charles Oliveira a ton of credit because this guy, 11 years in the UFC, James, and, formerly fighting, I thought a little bit too small at featherweight. Like, his body, to me, seems to fit much better at lightweight. Yep. Won some good fights, but lost some big fights. And, probably 5 or 6 years into Oliveira's UFC tenure, you're thinking this guy's going to always be, like, upper third, but he's never going to break through and win a championship. You know who he reminds me of a little bit? Rafael dos Anjos.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Rafael dos Anjos, that dude was just, winning like 2 out of 3 fights for like 10 years, and then all of a sudden put everything together, and he has a pretty nice reign as the lightweight champion. Now Oliveira is doing the same thing. This guy's been on the UFC roster for over a decade. Late bloomer is the right term for it.
Yeah, it took him 28 fights, and I think he has, 8 losses on his record, something like that, coming in?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the total. I can pull it up real quick here. I know that he's now on a 9-fight winning streak.
Yeah, but he was
8 losses, you're right.
8 losses on his record. He was so back and forth early in his career. And, awesome performance, and he's really developed himself into one of the most well-rounded fighters. But you mentioned Chandler. I want to focus on Chandler a little bit.
Yeah.
Even in a loss, I felt he was terrific. I mean,
he was great.
His ground game was good. Even when he got, he got taken down, he had him in a guillotine choke to kind of make Oliveira think about it. Ground and pound, he wasn't afraid to get into the guard and ground and pound Oliveira, which a lot of guys are afraid to do. So very, very impressive by Chandler, and I want to see him fight again.
Michael Chandler is a great loser because –
what do you mean by that?
Well, coming out of this fight, I don't feel like Michael Chandler lost this fight. I feel like Charles Oliveira won this fight.
Yep.
Because like you said, tremendous performance by both guys. This was not the type of fight that was ever going to go to a decision because these are not decision fighters.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's some great fighters like George St. Pierre, who we're going to talk about later tonight.
Yep.
That guy used to fight for points throughout most of his career.
Yep.
And it worked for him. I respect it. No ill will. But then you have fighters like Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira who that you put the two of them in an octagon together, you're not going to go for 25 minutes. You're going to go until somebody makes the other guy stop because he's either going to knock you out or tap you out. So both guys got off some amazing stuff, in damn near 2 rounds of a fight. And so, I really don't feel like Michael Chandler loses a lot of stock for this loss. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk with legendary MMA and boxing writer Kevin Iole from Yahoo Sports is going to join us. We'll talk a little bit about Oliveira with him, and we'll talk about what's to come this weekend with Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt, which is going to be a pretty damn good fight card coming up this Saturday. We can maybe talk a little bit of Triller and a little bit of Bellator with Kevin Iole as well. You're listening to the only locally owned sports station in South Florida. We are OnSideRadio.com.
You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you smash the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night. When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need them most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up. Now, let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org and make a difference today.
Hey, it's Big O for EJD Construction, your custom home builder, additions and home remodeling. Our lives have changed. We're making our homes more of an oasis. Call the right place. Call the right people. Eric at EJD Construction for over 16 years. A-rated member of Angie's List in the Better Business Bureau. 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
He has an overbite that makes him look like a cartoon character, a slightly crooked eye, and an uncommonly wrinkly neck. In the right light, he can look a little like a garden gnome, and he'll wear a bow tie just because. Sure, you might call him a little quirky, but that's exactly what makes him so perfect. Tuna is a 3-year-old Chihuahua Dachshund mix with more than 700,000 followers on Instagram, and it all started because he was adopted. You can't buy a best friend like Tuna, but you can adopt one. Help us save them all at bestfriends.org.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker. To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you smash the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night. Here's Alex and James.
Always nice when we can bring on Kevin Iole from Yahoo Sports. Unbelievably talented, intelligent, gifted boxing and MMA writer. Been doing it at a high level for a very long time. Kevin Iole joins us now here on Onside Radio. Kevin, good evening. Well, good afternoon where you are, sir. How's everything going on this lovely Thursday?
I am doing great. Good to talk to you. Thanks for that kind introduction.
Good to talk to you as well. And Kevin, you're always grinding, and I know that this past, 15 months has been really weird with lockdowns and some empty and partially empty arenas. I know you've been really working hard, covering all of these, basically empty fights in Las Vegas. But what's it like now that the UFC is going back to some packed arenas? Is it kind of like a culture shock to get back in that sort of an environment?
It's awesome. You have to love it, Alex. I mean, this is, when the pandemic first started and we started seeing the fights with no fans, a bunch of us were saying, well, it's not so bad. And, it's like, it's cool and you can hear what the fighters are saying to each other, which, you don't normally hear when you're in a crowded arena. But, that fight in Jacksonville, the first fight of the night, as soon as that fight started and the crowd was going crazy, that disabused us of that notion, that it was better without. I mean, it is way better with fans. And I think, we're as these various states come forward and open up again, we're on the path to having everybody have big crowds, and I think that's really good.
Kevin, it's co-host James Walker. Thanks so much for coming on. So I want to get your take, because you've covered boxing since the 70s and the 80s. What's your thoughts on the current state of boxing, particularly with all these, mixed crossover bouts and celebrity bouts drawing so much attention these days?
Well, I think that's power of personality. But, I mean, I wrote this, several times this week. We have the 140-pound unification fight going on at the Virgin Hotels here in Las Vegas. And, by the end of the year, we have the possibility of having a unified heavyweight champion. Fury and Joshua signed a fight, then this whole arbitration thing came up, but they still may end up fighting before the end of the year. Canelo Alvarez weight unifying super middleweight. Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano are going to unify the 154-pound division. We have the fight this weekend, Ramirez versus Taylor, unifying the 140-pound division. You have Teofimo Lopez with 4 belts at 135. So, I mean, we're in a really good place. For the first time in a long time, all the fighters are stepping up and saying, hey, I want to unify, I want to take the big fights, and they're not letting things get in the way of them. So I think boxing is in a good spot. Now, the problem, you mentioned those celebrity fights, so to speak, that shows the power of personality in our culture. And that's just one of those things where you're not going to get away from that. I mean, personalities sell in an individual sport like boxing. It's going to even be bigger. And so, the Paul brothers have done a great job in terms of, marketing themselves and branding themselves. But I don't think that's really impacting boxing all that much.
A fight that Triller is trying to make right now is George St. Pierre against your good pal Oscar De La Hoya. And, to this point, Dana White is blocking it because even though, GSP has been retired and inactive, he's still under contract. And, Kavanaugh from Triller is essentially publicly begging Dana White to allow GSP to take this fight. And now he's talking about, pledging $1 million to a charity of Dana White's choice if Dana will allow them to do this. So I'd like your opinion on a couple of different fronts, Kevin. I mean, do you think it would be a good idea for GSP, to do a fight like this? And do you think eventually Dana White will come around on it, or you think he stands firm?
I say no and no. I don't think it's a good idea for George. I mean, what is there to gain, for George to gain by this? You're going in. Oscar is a Hall of Famer. He's retired, for 13 years now, but he was still a boxing Hall of Famer. And as great as George was as an MMA fighter, he was not a boxer. And, I mean, given neither of them have been fighting for a long time, Oscar just eats him up in a boxing match. I mean, that's just the way this works. Boxers are specialists in that form of combat, and MMA fighters are generals. Now, that you put them in a cage and Oscar won't last 30 seconds. I mean, it's just, that's just, what the way this works. So it doesn't. I don't see how does this help George St. Pierre other than fulfill, I guess, a dream he had, long ago. But combat sports is not about fulfilling dreams. I don't think, at least in that way. As far as Dana is concerned, he feels like they have offered George fights, according to him, every year since he fought Michael Bisping. And he has repeatedly declined those fights. Dana claims they've offered him a fight this year for more money than what Triller was offering him to fight De La Hoya. But he doesn't want to fight MMA, just wants to box. So as a result, Dana's like, why should I do anything to help him? And I think the secondary thing is, Dana's a New Englander, and he has that, kind of tough guy mentality. And, when you show a sign of weakness, a lot of times that's where Dana, kind of just, sort of puffs out his chest. And I think by Kavanaugh doing what he's doing, Dana sees that as a sign of weakness, and he's just not going to give in.
I also see it as a sign of weakness because it's a little bit pathetic the way this guy is begging. I'll be quite honest on that.
Kevin, you
yeah, what can he do? He's trying to do the best he can do to get it done, but I think they ought to move to a different, I don't mind I think the concept that Triller is trying, combining the music and the entertainment acts with boxing is one that can have success with a certain type of audience, and I think they can do well with it. But I think that, this celebrity stuff is going to fade out very quickly. And I think if you really want to build a business in the combat sports space, to go to legitimate matches and don't try this, nonsense stuff is the best way I can put it.
Yeah, Kevin, you had mentioned the Pauls and the celebrity stuff, and can you inform us on the details of the Showtime deal? And what are your thoughts on that? Because Showtime, for a long time, was a traditional boxing cable network where you saw up-and-coming stars or established stars. So what's your thoughts on that, and what are some of the details that you know from it?
I don't know a lot of details yet because, to be honest with you, today I was swamped with the Taylor Ramirez fight, and so I did not even bother to look into that at all because that's, Jake Paul's kind of low in my totem poles of things that are important to me. And but here's the thing: I think that of the two Paul brothers, Jake is the one that has some boxing talent.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he's not the one fighting Mayweather. And so that's a bad thing for Logan. So I think Jake is a guy that if he took it the right way and was matched with the right, he might be able to be a decent boxer. How far he can go, I tend to doubt that he's going to go all that far because he's, in his mid-20s and, didn't really have an amateur background, and it's going to take him a long time. And I think, as a rich guy, he's not going to, be in it for the long haul. But I think he does have some boxing talent, and I know Showtime, hey, their TV ratings are absolutely abysmal, both in boxing and on Bellator MMA. And I think if they put him on, they look like, hey, we're thinking we might be able to get some people to watch our fight card. So, I think that's really, really what it is. They're not breaking 200,000 on their shows, and some of their shows aren't breaking 100,000. So I think, they're looking at it and saying, hey, Jake Paul is a known commodity that, right now he draws audience when he fights. And this is a way ultimately to get people to watch us. And so I think that's and subscribe to the network. And they care more, they don't really care as much about people watching as they do about people subscribing to see it. If they add new subscribers, they're happy. And I think they feel like that's what will happen there.
On that note, why do you think the ratings are so low? Is it because subscriptions are down, or is it just because, the product hasn't been great lately?
Well, the product is good, so I don't think it's the product.
Yeah.
I think here's what I think happened, and it's, and I could be way out in left field on this, but I think from experience in the fight game that I'm not. A couple of years ago when HBO was still in the business, and basically, if you wanted to watch fights, you watched either HBO or Showtime. And that was it. So you ponied up, the $15 a month for each one of them, and then you had the vast majority of fights. Every now and then some other network would pop up with a boxing match, but you had the vast majority of it. But now, as we're into the digital age and all these different things, now people have ESPN Plus, and they have Top Rank and UFC on it. So they have a lot of boxing and a ton of MMA, and they have PFL plus UFC as far as MMA, and then. You go to DAZN, and for $10 a month, you have a tremendous amount of boxing. So if you have for $15 a month, you have ESPN Plus and DAZN, you get 90% of all the fights that are on. And I think people are just saying, that's good enough for me. I don't need to pay that extra, $15 a month for Showtime for the amount of fights they're doing. And I really think that's where it's gone out. They just don't have the volume like they used to have, and you get so much stuff on these other networks that I think it's cheaper for people, and that's why they're going that way.
Well said. We're joined here by Kevin Iole from Yahoo Sports. Wanted to ask you about Charles Oliveira, who came away victorious in what was a really awesome fight between Oliveira and Michael Chandler. And I'm happy to see Oliveira, who's been in the UFC for over a decade, finally win a belt. But what do you think is next for him, Kevin? Because, of course, I'd love to see him fight the winner of Poirier versus McGregor. Now, if McGregor wins, who knows, right? Because he may disappear for a couple of years,
right.
But Poirier maybe. So who do you think might be next for Oliveira?
If I had a bet right now, I would say Justin Gaethje. That would be, my guess is where they go. Dustin would be a possibility if he wins. But I think that, Gaethje doesn't have a fight. He's rated right up at the top of the division. And I think that's the one that makes the most sense. So, plus the other thing, and, the UFC thinks of a lot of different angles. Dustin is going to make a ton. This could be the biggest pay-per-view the UFC's ever done, with the trilogy with Conor and Dustin Poirier. And, Dustin gets that big payday. Is he going to be eager to get back in the ring in, October, right? I don't know that he will. And so he may be off on a different schedule than Oliveira at this point. And so I think, the UFC might be saying, hey, Gaethje needs to fight. He's, there's nobody that could argue that he would be, not be a good contender. And I think if you look at his style of fighting and you compare it to Mike Chandler's, it's very similar, except maybe even faster and more explosive and more crazy. And we saw what kind of fight that brought us against Oliveira. So I think, if you put Gaethje in that, it seems to be like a can't miss.
Yeah, Kevin, last question. Nick Diaz showed up on the scene all of a sudden. Does he return, and who does he return against if he does, in your opinion?
I don't think he fights. I'm just going to say that. I really don't. I mean, he's been retired, hasn't fought since 2015, January of 2015. That's, over 6 years. And that's a lifetime in combat sports. And, if he hasn't fought in that time, what all of a sudden makes him after this period of time decide he wants to fight? And I think, that there's a lot of people that, he's such a compelling personality that people talk about him all the time and want him to fight and want to see him. They love Nate the same way. And Nick is even to a greater degree than Nate. So I think that's there. But I just don't get the sense that Nick really wants to fight. I would love to see it if he did, but I just don't get the sense that that's a fight that he's interested in and, wants to come back with. So I think you'll see, you'll just see that kind of peter out, and you won't hear much more about Nick coming up.
Oh, it makes me so sad. I'm the biggest Nick Diaz fanboy on the planet, but we appreciate your time as always. And everyone, make sure you check out Kevin Ioli's work, Yahoo Sports, on the MMA and the boxing pages, and make sure you follow him on Twitter at Kevin I. Oh, and Kevin, real quick, I don't know how high this is on your priority list because you cover so many serious fights. Are you going to be in town for Mayweather Logan Paul?
Nick, just a little funny thing. They asked me, one of my bosses asked me, did I want to interview Logan Paul because one of his handlers had said, they wanted to bring him to Yahoo Sports and do an interview. And I was like, I don't really want to do it. See if there's anybody else who can do it because I don't want to be, in that space and be affiliated with that space. And then nobody else did it. So I said, well, me being the team player that I am, I'll do it. But it wasn't what I wanted to do.
That is so funny. Well, Kevin, enjoy your weekend coming up, man. Thank you so much for taking some time. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Good stuff there. What a pro. All right, when we come back, we're going to debut a new segment here on Fight Night. We're gonna give out some kudos and some complaints in a segment we call Kudos and Complaints. Imagine that. That's coming your way next year on OnSideRadio.com.
You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker. To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you smash the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night.
Now that it's springtime, it's only getting hotter here in South Florida. Make sure your AC in your home or business is running smoothly by investing in a preventative maintenance plan from M&S Air Conditioning. And M&S is a Mitsubishi Diamond Elite contractor. When you purchase a new Mitsubishi electric mini split system, you'll get a 12-year warranty. Or install a high-efficiency polarized air filter in your AC unit that captures and destroys biological contaminants to improve air quality. M&S Air Conditioning have been providing prompt, honest, and reliable service for over 30 years. Schedule service or call to get more info on our preventative maintenance plans. Call 954-421-3680 or visit ac-florida.com.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world.
With Make-A-Wish, the impossible becomes possible. A girl battling cancer can become a race car driver battling the course. The boy showing all the nurses his fire trucks can take the helm of a real one. Wishes can give kids with critical illnesses the strength to keep fighting, get better, and grow up.
Where there's a wish, there's a way.
Wishes need you. Visit Make-A-Wish at wish.org.
Hey, what's up? It's Toast. May is here, which means hurricane season right around the corner. You need to get PGT custom windows and doors installed in your house so that you're fully protected when we get a big storm coming on through. For those windows, only one place to call. My buddies at B&T Windows and Doors. They've been doing it in South Florida for decades, and they will set you up with the best of the business. PGT Custom Windows and Doors. 954-233-0126. That's 954-233-0126 for B&T Windows and Doors.
When you're looking to add that extra style and protection for your home or business, visit A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie or Sunrise, where plantation shutters are a major part of our business, and they look great in any home. We have them in white, stained colors, and wood tones. We can even motorize your shutters like the one in the OnSideRadio.com studio. A Shade Above Window Fashions, 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A Shade Above Window Fashions.
Every 2 minutes, a woman in the U.S. is diagnosed with breast cancer. And in that split second, her life changes forever. The toll of breast cancer is great. The need to support those who are battling the disease today is even greater. We're fighting alongside patients because we know one moment can change a lifetime. United by hope, we can end breast cancer. Join our fight. Save lives.
Fight Night continues with Alex Donno and James Walker. To touch gloves, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Subscribe to Fight Night on most platforms. Let's return to the show combat fans can't live without. It's Fight Night on your home for combat sports. OnSideRadio.com. Here's Alex Donno and James Walker.
Remember, Bellator tomorrow night on Showtime, and at 8 o'clock, you'll hear a conversation I had with the really awesome Valerie Loretta, who, by the way, her fight was bumped up to the main card because one of the main card fighters suffered an injury. Her fight was going to be on the prelims. It's bumped up to the Showtime main card. We'll hear from Valerie at 8 o'clock. At 8:20, expected to be joined by J.D. Burns. I got to watch J.D. live in person this past week at the BYB Extreme event at the fair, which was a lot of fun. They're going to be having another event coming up next month, so I encourage everyone to check it out. And I love this dude's style. I requested him specifically, J.D. Burns, who won his fight by knockout. This dude has purple hair, purple mohawk, and he was wearing purple shorts. So I don't see fighters too often where the brightly colored shorts actually match their hair. He was really good. He's going to join us at 8:20.
Wonder what his favorite color is.
We can ask him that. We're going to debut a new segment here. We like to call kudos and complaints. I'll give a kudo. James, we'll each give a complaint. James, I'll start. My kudo today goes to Diego Sanchez.
Okay, this will be interesting.
I was so relieved with something I read this afternoon. Diego Sanchez, the Nightmare, finally came to his senses today, and he announced to the media he has ended his professional relationship with self-proclaimed healer and founder of the School of Self-Awareness, Josh Fabia. This guy's a lunatic, okay? He's essentially a cult leader. This is the guy who was videotaped training fighters by chasing them around an octagon with an actual knife. Like, it's just, this guy is complete cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He was ruining Diego's professional life, got him cut from the UFC, and apparently was ruining Diego's personal life as well, or at least affecting it, because this is why I call this Fabia guy a cult leader. Diego Sanchez was actually cutting off members of his own family because family members were suggesting Diego ditch this Josh Fabia, and he responded by cutting these people out of his life. That's a cult leader. So I'm so glad that Diego has finally come to his senses and gotten rid of this Fabia character, and hopefully Diego's mending fences now with the family members he cut off. So that's my kudos.
Very good kudo, and better late than never for Diego Sanchez. My kudo goes to Elon Musk. And a lot of people would say,
that dirtbag?
Why is he a dirtbag, Alex?
He tanked my crypto portfolio. This guy's tweeting out this FUD about Bitcoin, and it drops from like 56K to 30K over a couple days. I want to kill this guy.
Well, he did some good. He did some good in the world in this case, and he's getting my kudos this week because Beneil Dariush had a call out after he beat Tony Ferguson on pay-per-view. And people thought he was going to call out another fighter, top 5 fighter, something like that. I want a title fight. Instead, he called out Elon Musk because he ordered a Tesla and he hasn't received it yet, him and his wife. So Elon Musk quickly called Beneil, reached out to his people, made sure he had a Tesla ready for him. And I think he's driving a test driver Tesla at the moment, but the real Tesla that he ordered is going to be coming really soon thanks to Elon Musk. Who knows how long it would have taken had he not called him out. So kudos to Elon Musk. I didn't know he followed MMA at all, or maybe something got back to him through his representatives, but he did the right thing and deserves a kudos for that.
That's cool. I'll give him kudos for that. Elon, you're cool in my book for that one. All right, now time for the complaint. I have to file a complaint on behalf of Andre Muniz. This guy literally snaps the arm in an armbar of one of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners in mixed martial arts history. He did that to Jacare Souza, gets Jacare Souza in an armbar and snaps Jacare's arm, and despite submitting one of the great submission artists, he didn't get one of those $75K performance of the night bonuses. Like, if you're going to give out a bonus for a great submission, you would have thought that would be a bonus winner. My theory, James, because to me this is an unfortunate snub because he should have gotten a bonus for that.
Yep.
My theory is, and it makes sense if you follow the logic. So you know how important these days PR, public perception is. I think the UFC decided if they were to give Muniz a $75,000 performance bonus for snapping a dude's arm, that's going to make it look like they're incentivizing injuring people. And it's not like Muniz didn't do that on purpose. I mean, if you catch a guy in a submission like that, a guy like Jacare would rather let his arm break than tap out. That's just he could have tapped out, so that's just the type of guy he is. So my theory is the UFC did not want like the out, because MMA fans understand what happened, but people who aren't MMA fans would say, hey, they're giving a guy $75,000 extra for snapping a dude's arm. Like, this is barbaric. This is terrible. So I think Muniz got snubbed as a result of that.
Nah, that's a great one. That's a great one. And my complaint here is Chris Cyborg in Bellator. I just don't like it. And I know she's main eventing tomorrow night. But she's facing an opponent in Leslie Smith who she destroyed in 90 seconds prior. I just don't see how MMA fans can really get excited for any of her matchups. There's really only 1 or 2 female opponents in the world that you really get excited for Cyborg to fight.
Right.
And none of those opponents are in Bellator and in her weight class. So, man, I mean, I know she's happy in Bellator, and kudos to that, going to Bellator. But as an MMA fan, I just can't really, get pumped for any of her fights because it just feels to me like it's just going to be a 1-round, KO, and there's really no reason to watch. So we'll see if Leslie Smith does better tomorrow night. But yeah, Chris Cyborg in Bellator to me just doesn't seem like a fit. Doesn't seem like a fit for her. Doesn't seem like a fit in terms of good competition and the opponents as well. So hopefully at some point we'll see her back in the UFC facing the people the type of competition that she deserves. Amen to that.
And I see Cyborg. Cyborg is trying so hard to make people think Leslie Smith has a chance. I've heard some of the media she's done, and Cyborg is a really, really sweet person. She's a really, really nice lady. And, she keeps talking about how, it's been 5 years, and they're both completely different fighters, and Leslie's going to be completely different. I mean, I think deep down inside, Cyborg is going out expecting to smash her in 90 seconds the way that she did last time, and that's probably what's going to happen. And if that's not what happens, I think that tells you a lot more about where Cyborg is right now than where Leslie Smith is right now.
Yeah, and that shows. I mean, she's trying to sell the fight basically as an even matchup. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it pans out. But yeah, I mean, I need to see Cyborg face some better competition. I just don't see that in Bellator right now.
No doubt about that. I want to talk a little bit more when we come back about this Triller situation with George St. Pierre and about Jake Paul getting a contract offer from Showtime. He signed it. I mean, he's now a Showtime boxer, and it just feels strange to me. Hey, Heat and NBA fans can catch Ira Winderman here exclusively at OnsideRadio.com with our Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat reports. Catch Ira throughout the week at Onside Radio, and when news breaks, basketball fans know Onside Radio is the place you get the insight you need.
You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker. To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you smash the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night. You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno. To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you punch the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. When you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up. Now, let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org to learn more.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
WLESPN. We've got all your sports.
We're live and local.
If you wake up early enough.
You're so bad, honey.
Tune us in, as long as you're not under a bridge.
Or under any power line.
Ain't it awful? South Florida's choice for sports talk. OnsideRadio.com.
If you're looking for a change from the everyday restaurant, then you need to get to Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Brats, Wiener Schnitzel, homemade potato pancakes, pretzels with mustard, and lots of German beer. And with daily specials, there is something for everyone. If you're up for a challenge, you should take their famous boot tour, Finish 30 boots of different varieties of German beer, and you'll receive half price on their beer for life. And you'll get to take home your own boot and Checkers Old Munchin t-shirt. They also have outdoor seating available in their new beer garden with live music, as well as carry-out, curbside pickup, and delivery. So, for the finest German food and beer, get over to 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant, or call them for reservations at 954-785-7565. That's 954-785-7565. We'll see you at Zagat-rated Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
These are unprecedented times. Challenging how the YMCA works to strengthen community as we have for nearly 170 years. But we've always found ways to help people and communities in times of crisis. Right now, Ys across the country are providing emergency childcare, shelter, food programs, and outreach to seniors. But we can't do it alone. Whether you're connected to the Y or have a fond Y memory, we need you to stay with us. Reach out to your local Y today and stay with us for a better us.
Hey, it's Big O for EJD Construction, your custom home builder, additions and home remodeling. Our lives have changed. We're making our homes more of an oasis. Call the right place. Call the right people. Eric at EJD Construction for over 16 years. A-rated member of Angie's List in the Better Business Bureau. 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker. To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you smash the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night. Here's Alex and James.
Welcome back in. Fight Night here on Onside Radio. Going to be hitting the 8 o'clock hour here pretty soon. You know, we still have to get to GSP not being allowed to fight at Triller, Jake Paul signing with Showtime. But I wanted to ask you, James, your opinion on Jacare Souza, who gets his arm broken, as mentioned, by Muniz.
Yep.
And his reward for that, he gets his UFC release. He gets cut. Now, just the timing of this sucks, right? I mean, this guy, you know, and by the way, he had a great attitude about some of these old school BJJ fighters have incredible attitudes about getting their arms broken.
Yeah, I mean, Jacare knows the deal. You know, he's broken probably more arms than he has in the past, than he's had his own arm broken. So, yeah, I mean, look, he's at that point too. You know, we talked about Tony Ferguson. We talked about, you know, those kind of guys that are on losing streaks. Jacare has been on a losing streak as well. So it's funny because I remember Jacare when he signed his last UFC contract. It was I feel like it was right before the Whitaker fight. He was on the upswing, and he signed that big deal, multi-fight deal. And I think he lost to Whitaker in that fight, and that was kind of the start. I think he had a few wins here and there, but he was never quite the same Jacare after Whitaker kind of got to him. Yeah, I mean, listen, now, obviously the timing sucks, but 4-fight losing streak, and you know he's
the UFC has had to tighten the purse strings a little bit over the last year plus with the pandemic. They're feeling it the same way a lot of businesses are feeling it. So listen, it's unfortunate. And listen, I'm sure Jacare is going to land on his feet if he, assuming he wants to keep fighting. I'm guessing he probably does. Let's remember, he's got a really good relationship with Scott Coker, who he fought for in Strikeforce, and now he's with Bellator.
Yeah.
So he could land on his feet there, I'm sure, pretty easily if he wants to. So this is going to be good. On the other side, when we kick off the 8 o'clock hour, we are going to talk with the Berserker, J.D. Burns. Nice. This is going to be fantastic because this guy, I was so entertained that I said I have to talk to the dude with the purple hair because he was incredible. And J.D. Burns, who won his fight by knockout at BYB Extreme at the Miami Fairgrounds this past weekend, is going to join us when we come back here on Onside Radio. So keep it locked right here. We got our guy Abel pushing all the right buttons over there, making things happen behind the scenes. James Walker and myself, we're going to talk with J.D. Burns when we come back here on Onside Radio.
You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker. To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you smash the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night.
When you want local sports, 1260 WLESPN.
We're live and local.
Yes, what she said.
Well, it's what they wrote.
Look at it this way, honey.
Oh, no. Here we go.
At some point, this was all live, and wherever it came from, it was local there.
You get that look whenever you stretch the truth or when you need your laxative.
Ain't it awful? South Florida's choice for sports talk. OnSideRadio.com. When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547.
Inter Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at dangerousmindsbrewing.com.
Hey, it's Toast, and when I got PGT custom windows and doors installed at my house last year from B&T Windows and Doors, I knew that I was protecting my house when it came to hurricanes, but I was also investing in my house. My value went up. My home insurance cost went down. Yeah, I can now get more for my house when I sell it because I have PGT custom windows and doors installed courtesy of my buddies at B&T Windows and Doors. Just another reason why you should upgrade your house today. Give them a call, 954-233-0126. That's 954-233-0126, B&T Windows and Doors.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodyAsDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody-Ass family. Dr. Moody-Ass is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyAsDental.com.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of Onside Radio ownership, management, sponsors, website, or Inter Miami Marketing, LLC. It's time for the show dedicated to combat sports. From the UFC to boxing to bare-knuckle brawling. Alex Donno and James Walker provides combat sports fans the insight and interviews they crave. It's Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker, exclusively at OnSideRadio.com.
Had an incredible time this past weekend, Saturday at the fairgrounds, Miami-Dade, watching BYB Extreme. And one of the most entertaining parts of that card is the man we are about to talk to. Won his fight by knockout. This guy has style. He's got swagger. J.D. Burns joins us. J.D., welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure.
It's our pleasure, man. And first of all, beyond the fact that you're an awesome fighter and knockout artist, and we'll get to that, your style is you know how to get yourself noticed, man, with the purple hair and the purple shorts. As soon as you were walking out to the ring, I'm like, this dude's a badass. I can't wait to watch this. Like, how did that whole style come together for you? How did you settle on that look?
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. But it just kind of, I don't know, came over time. My very first MMA fight, my dad's an MMA fighter, and his first fight, he shaved his head bald. So I thought I could do the bald look too, might be kind of cool. And I did it once, thought it was neat. And over time, I started getting heavily covered in tattoos and figured out the bald look's probably not a good look for me. It might give off the wrong message. So I kind of went into, so then I went into going, well, man, the only time I get to fight and get crazy hairstyles, let's maybe do a mohawk. And start going over all the different colors and like, oh, Dan Hardy had red. I think somebody else had green. And then we just kind of finally settled on purple. And we're like, screw it. We can go Team Barney all the way. I don't care. This sounds great. It's memorable enough. And, it's kind of like a skin license plate, if anything else. So whether I get horribly beaten up or I win, victoriously, they're going to remember the fight. So,
JD, you fought in rings, you fought in cages. How different did the Trigon feel fighting in there?
That was so much. It was like I told Dad at 5,000, it was like fighting in a Mortal Kombat level. It was just it's really small and in close, and that entire ring's made for a hockey fight. So to be honest, it was a little different getting my bearing and timing in, but I felt so alive in there. It was so much fun just to be in and exchange some punches and try to do the Don Fry thing, but I think he still did it just a tad bit better than I did.
And speaking of the Trigon, I've been for basically my entire life a combat sports fan. So, started with boxing, really into MMA, and I'm really enjoying what the folks at BYB Extreme are doing. And the events that I've been out to and watched have been a whole lot of fun, including this past Saturday. Now, you mentioned your dad's an MMA fighter, so obviously, you've been living this life for a little bit, but how did you end up connected with BYB Extreme, and when did you decide, like, hey, this is a challenge I'd really like to take on?
Well, when I guess even when I was really young, I used to see all those backyard fight stuff before I knew anything about martial arts and traditional martial arts, and I used to think, being the dumb teenage kid, I was like, that's cool. I want to do that. And getting better and more skilled at martial arts, and started realizing not even so much the backyard brawling, but the guys that did a lot of training and put forth, their efforts, and then decided and choosing to go bare knuckle I thought was really cool, because a lot more, not even, I shouldn't say regular fans, but just anybody that's ever done a combat sport was noticing. I thought that was really cool. It was just more so noticing that not only the fans were going to be watching me, but I knew some of the fighters that I looked up to were going to be watching me get a perfectly well-placed punch into my perfectly eye socket would have been great. So it's like, I could probably put on a show this way. And I ended up right before the COVID or the zombie quarantine stuff hit. I was looking into BYB and talking to matchmakers, and they were, really interested. And then the COVID thing happened, and I had a year of just I run and own a family-based gym for Taekwondo and mixed martial arts. So when the COVID happened, I just pretty much just sit in my gym and work out and train ferociously and get good as fast as I can at boxing and just hand-to-hand clinch drills and stuff like that, thinking, all right, this is my only chance where I don't have to worry about cornering anybody or getting ready for anybody else's fights, but just hone in on one thing, because I'm not so worried about losing. I was more terrified of doing something really stupid like getting my clock clean and then forgetting what sport I'm doing and then throw a spinning heel kick or something stupid. And I'm like, that would have looked way worse. And then I can't be like, oh, it's McGregor boxing or something. I can't. It doesn't work out as well. So I wanted to make sure, as soon as I got there, whenever they gave me the opportunity, I was going to put on the best performance I could. Even if that guy came in there with a baseball bat, I was ready.
Hey, we're big supporters of small business. You mentioned you have a family-run gym. Where is that? And if you want to plug it, man, I'd love to get the word out for you.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. It's family-run Taekwondo-based gym. It's Team Battleground, Black Belt USA in Lakewood, Washington. But it started off traditional Taekwondo since I was like 11 years old. My dad was a black belt since the 80s, and then when he had me and my sister, he ended up starting all over from white belt again, just to have his kids go through, and then him do it again, just to show him that it wasn't too big of a drag or boring or anything like that. And then as well as he was our wrestling coach all through middle school and high school, so it was kind of pretty much a martial art based family. And just funny, I didn't register that I was going to be a fighter until way later on. Like I was like, oh, I guess we'll just work at Safeway or somewhere else. Nobody wants to watch fighting or compete in martial arts. So just kind of a light bulb switched one day. And then after seeing one of my dad's fights, it was like, oh wow, he didn't even win his fight, and it was just that like, man, that's all I have to do is just push as hard as I physically can and entertain people. Like just like an easy. Like it's just a sign went off. I was like, yep, that's what I want to do. That's going to be, I could totally do that.
That kind of leads me to my next question, JD. How healthy are you after this fight, and what's next when you want to get back in there?
Actually, if you guys seen that fight, it looks, surprisingly enough, I didn't sustain a concussion. Luckily, I'm not in any modeling competition, so I don't have to worry about my looks at all. I got 4 holes stitched up in my face. I got a bruised rib pretty good. I rolled my back out on one of the cylinders the other day, and my rib popped. And it was one of those things I didn't know was injured until it was all the way back to kind of normal. It's like, okay, I think I'm good. And then hands aren't broken. They're already back to normal. So I'm going to just give it, a couple weeks. And we're already talking to my management, CNC management, and Carlos is helping me out trying to figure out the next bare knuckle event, because I got to be honest, even if I lost that fight, it felt right being in there, and I just want to go in there and do it again as soon as possible. So hopefully we'll get something figured out, and I do know it's going to be BYB. I just don't know when. So I would love to keep you guys informed, though.
Yeah, there is something special about it. Like, and watching it live, like there's something even more exciting about the bare knuckle, I think, which is, and I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed watching it. We're talking with JD Burns here on Onside Radio. How did you get the nickname the Berserker? Is there a story behind that, or did somebody just slap that on you?
Well, it looked like a lot like the fight you guys watched. I was cornering and coaching before I even started my first couple fights. And the first couple fights out of our Battleground gym got beat up. It's either a ground and pound or something or other where the other guy didn't have a single scratch on him. So building up to my fight as just a adrenaline ridden teenager, like, all right, I might lose, but I don't want that guy going home looking pretty. I want to take one of his teeth home. I want to give him a scar. I want to take his orbital out, like anything. I just don't want to have my hand not raised and that guy look good for his picture afterwards. So anything, my first couple of fights, I would just throw spinning heel kicks and just bull rush that guy as hard as I could. And it was kind of funny. It would either go as hard as I could until the guy would take me down and I would get a triangle submission, or it would just go until usually to a TKO or a ground and pound finish. So this is actually the bare knuckle event. That was my first debut in boxing, debut in bare knuckle. And normally I fight 55. I never fight up in weight class ever, but just to show the BYB guys and everybody that I wanted to belong to this event and prove that I had what it takes. I was like, I'm going to go up in weight, even if they have anybody. And my opponent even missed weight by a substantial amount too. So coming into that, knowing that I beat him for the next event, I'm going to be down easily, probably 55. I know I'm going to be a way bigger and more meaner opponent for whoever. And that it's usually the goal for me. I usually don't guarantee wins or losses. I want to guarantee shows. Because if one of us is bleeding, that's good. But if both of us are bleeding, that's usually fight of the night.
JD, in terms of strategy, how does your strategy change with bare knuckle? Because you can't necessarily, I would assume, throw 100% your hardest punch all the time, or you'd probably hurt your hand.
I would have said totally, but that fight turned into little brother, big brother as soon as he hit me in the nose, and I was willing to hit him with a bag of Lincoln Log hand if I broke my hand. So I was really going, okay, we got a point spar. I'm going to throw some jabs. I'm going to get in and out. He hit me in the face, and I was like, you know what? I remember how to do this, and I just wanted to keep throwing until I was like, all right, okay, as soon as my hand hurts, I'll switch hands. And my hand was kind of hurting, but it never stopped. So it was like I couldn't feel the good punches. I could hear the wet skin slapping, like kind of like a metal detector kind of sound, where it was like, oh, right here, this is where I need to hit. And then it would go both ways. So when he hit me really hard, I didn't feel it as much, but the ones that I heard wet slapping, everybody was like, that was really bad, dude. You probably should put your hand up or, move your head, get out of the way. So it wasn't, and that's the same thing where I always assume, even in boxing, I tried telling my mom this, and she was not as impressed. But I was like, Mom, if he hits me hard enough, I'm not even going to remember. I'm just going to wake up. You have nothing to worry about. I'll be fine. And surprisingly, that didn't help her out as much. I don't know why. But.
She sounds a lot like my mom. Now, so James asked you about the adjustment to bare knuckle, but what about the adjustment from someone who comes from a Taekwondo and MMA background to fight basically with boxing rules? How much was that an adjustment for you?
A little here and there, just because. So our ground foundation was Taekwondo when I first started out, like teenager, 15 to 18 years old, and then when we started coaching and cornering for MMA events and stuff like that, we always tried to make a goal of like, all right, we have all the different weight classes we've cornered for. Let's try cornering for a kickboxing event, or let's try cornering for Muay Thai, and then boxing and. Either or. So we were pretty familiar with all the different rule-based stuff. So it was just trying to, mix the rules of boxing with a little bit of like hockey clinching and just Muay Thai plum clinch stuff. So it was a little bit different change-up. But again, the only thing I was super worried about, I even have a video online that you could even check out, because I've done it once before in a Taekwondo tournament where the guy kicked me in the face. And I for a split second, I forgot we're not supposed to punch to the face. It's only kick to the head. And I just throw the meanest hook and just about flatten him on his, and that immediately hit him. I was like, I just look so stupid. I just did the wrong thing. It looks like I'm malicious. So that was the most anything. I was like, I could care less if I lose. I want to make it entertaining and stick to the rules and, put on a show as best I can to the, hockey fighting rules.
JD, you mentioned you spoke to Dada 5000. We actually had him on the show here last week. Did you know his background ahead of time, and just what's it like working for a guy like him?
It was, at first watching all the past events and stuff, I thought it'd be a little bit more abrasive or like, oh, it's going to be this. But he is way more professional and just down to earth when you talk to him. So at first you're like, man, this is going to be this big guy. He'll fight you right here and now kind of look. But he's very, very well spoken. So it was kind of nice to meet him and, get to see the real him kind of thing. So it's pretty cool.
I got to tell you, it's been really nice talking to you, and I encourage everybody to come out to his next fight. He mentioned it's going to be BYB Extreme, so it's going to be really, really good. J.D. Burns is with us. I really enjoyed your fight, and I enjoyed talking to you even more, I think. So thank you so much for taking some time, and enjoy your weekend coming up.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you guys a bunch. I hope to see you guys or hear from you soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks, J.D.
Man, that was fantastic. Very well done there by J.D. We're going to hear from, I had a chance, James, this week to talk with Valerie Loretta, who I think, I'm with you. I'm not that excited to watch Cyborg, smash Leslie Smith for the second time, but I am really excited to watch Valerie Loretta fight, because she represents the 305 so well. Miami-based, born and bred. And that's another fighter who comes from a Taekwondo background. I mean, J.D., very similar background. Like J.D. mentioned, coming up in a family-owned Taekwondo gym. Same thing with Valerie. Her father is a Taekwondo instructor. Her mother is a former Olympian. So we're going to hear from Valerie Loretta. I had a chance to speak with her this week when we come back. Hey, Onside Radio understands gaming is a big part of the sports landscape. That's why every day we keep you updated with some of the latest gaming news with Onside Radio's E-Minute, hosted by Toast, Kai, and Michael Christian. If you miss it, it's podcasted daily. Search Onside Radio on all platforms. Subscribe, rate, and review. OnsideRadio.com, the station gamers call home.
You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker. To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you smash the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandolux. Bandolux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandolux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandolux Beauty. Go to Bandolux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandolux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandolux partner.
Sports fans love a place with great food, cold drinks, and TVs everywhere. That's why sports fans love Sports Grill and their 7 amazing locations. Check out the Bird Road location at 11481 Southwest 40th Street in the back corner of the West Bird Shopping Center. Sports Grill is also now offering some great employment opportunities. All kinds of positions are now available, from kitchen to hosting. Call for more information at 305-485-8845. From wraps to salads to amazingly delicious specialty dishes, Sports Grill is the home to the legendary special grilled wings. Since 1987, Sports Grill, good food, good drink, and good friends.
The fighting spirit of the Marine Corps is born of battles won. Battles won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. It's who we are. It's what we do. It's a promise made to you for more than 2 centuries. A promise of the Marines.
When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547.
When you're tired of watching the sun damage your furniture or raise your electric bill, it's time to do what we did here at OnSideRadio.com studio. Call A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise. A Shade Above Window Fashions has a great selection of blackout shades to choose from. We can almost create a complete blackout for your bedroom or media room. Call them at 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A Shade Above Window Fashion.
Welcome back to Fight Night, exclusively at OnSideRadio.com. You can connect by text at 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Let's get back to one of the best combat sports programs in the business. It's Fight Night on your home for combat sports. OnSideRadio.com.
By the way, I'm really annoyed with the Florida Panthers. They had a 2-0 lead after the first period. The score now after the second period, they're down 5-3. They got outscored 5-1 in the second period by the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think they're going to get swept. I mean, they're down 0-2 in the series. If they don't come back miraculously tonight, they're down 0-3. Finish, James. It's unfortunate. And speaking of Fight Night, they had a huge melee on the ice a little while ago.
Yeah. Things have been getting chippy in that game, but fight on defense. You don't have to throw fists. Play better defense. That's pretty much. But yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay's up 2-0. Probably going to go up 3-0 here. I don't see any comeback in the third period, but it looks like a sweep might be coming. I might not be coming back to South Florida to play again.
It's rough. Well, I'll tell you something I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. Bellator on Showtime. And I had the privilege, because this woman is going places. Like she puts everything together. The performances in the cage are great. She's 3-0, undefeated in her pro MMA career, and I knew a lot about her even before she made her pro debut because she was making waves in this community. She knows how to sell herself, promote herself, and she's really goddamn talented in the cage as well. Had a chance to talk with Valerie Loretta ahead of her fight tomorrow night on Showtime. We have the pleasure here of being joined by one of the combatants on that card, South Florida born and bred, one of the most awesome fighters you will find. Valerie Loretta is with us. Valerie, first of all, thank you so much for taking some time just a few days away from the fight. Can't tell you how much that means. How you doing?
Hi, no, thank you for having me. That means everything to me. Thanks for the support and for announcing my fight on Friday. I'm good. I'm here in the Mohegan, just quarantining in the room.
Nice. So how does that still work with the protocol? Like, how many days do you have to be there quarantining?
It's just Sunday, Monday, but we got here late last night, so just one day. Things are changing, you know. Things are starting to open up and things like that. And honestly, I think I'm going to make history in the last no fans Bellator fight card ever.
Well, there you go. And it's good to know that it's the last no fans because, I mean, for a fighter like yourself, feed off the crowd. You're very popular in Bellator, so I can't wait till you can have like a full cheering section in the near future. And I'm so happy to talk to you again. I've had you on a show before, but this was obvious before the pandemic started. It's been so great to see your continued success and the way that you really kind of represent and carry South Florida. And listen, it's no secret, Valerie. I don't think anyone's surprised to see you out there dominating. Just tell us a little bit about your story, right? Both your parents into martial arts. You have siblings who are into it. Like, there was no way you could have avoided this, right? You were going to be a fighter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was going to be a fighter before I was born, whether I was a boy or a girl. Boys and 3 girls, but I came out the fighter and the boy of the family, you know.
That is so cool. So you're taking on Hannah Guy this weekend, this Friday at Bellator 259. What can you tell us about your opponent and what sort of fight are you expecting?
I know she's tough. I know she's from Mississippi. I know she has more fights than me. I know we're going to put on a good show. And, you know, I expect her to come forward, try to take me down like every other fighter I'm going to have for the rest of my career.
So why is it like every fighter try to take you down? Like, do they? And because you come from a Taekwondo background, but you do fine at dealing with takedowns. So do you think that other fighters come in thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to take Valerie down and find success? It obviously hasn't worked, but do you think that's something that fighters try to game plan against you?
Yeah, you know, everyone thinks I'm just going to get taken down and submitted, you know, but I train in the best camp in the world. I would never let that happen. They will never let that happen. You know, I've seen too many things, seen too many submissions. I've defended everything you could imagine, and I'm just prepared on another level, and I think people are going to keep, underestimating me until I prove them otherwise.
Well, and I know you're going to do that this coming weekend. So tell me a little bit more about some of the preparations you've gone through and the weight cut and everything. Now, I can just go by the way you sound, Valerie, because a lot of times I'll talk to a fighter on fight week, and I can kind of tell by the tone of their voice that the weight cut is hitting them really hard. You don't sound to be very fazed by it, so I'm guessing that's going pretty well for you.
Yeah, you know, honestly, if there's anyone in the world, like, if I could make my weight, anyone could make their weight, you know, like, I could get heavy, to be honest. Like, I come from Cuban heritage, you know, I have big legs, and I could get heavy. I get up to, 150, 155, and right now I'm weighing 132. I have to be 126 on Thursday, so I'm, at a perfect weight, 6 pounds over. But if there's something about me is that when I sign that contract, it's on, I'm a whole other animal. There's a whole other discipline that comes out of me because it's my job to be a nutritionist. It's my job to make that weight, and it's my job to be professional because Bellator gave me an opportunity to fight, and there's so many other fighters who would be wanting to fight right now during the quarantine, you know? So I don't take it lightly. I don't take it for granted. My business and my job for me, I take it personally, and I'm going to execute and be as professional as I can, and that's the way I know that everything is being taken care of and going the right way, you know. Fight week for me has to look a certain way. I have to leave Miami a certain way. I have to have my outfits a certain way. I have to have my fight clothes a certain way. And I have to have my sister here with me. And, you know, my coaches have to be here. And just everything's gone right again. Thankful to God. And this is my third fight here in the Mohegan. Every time I come here is a knockout. So God willing, I'm going to come out with another one.
Well said. Tell me about the relationship you have in the fight game with your sister. I see her in your corner. I saw you celebrating together your last win. How important is it to have her there?
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember that my family dynamic is, it's just the heart of our family was taekwondo, right? So my sister has also been my training partner since I was, she's 2.5 years older than me. So since we were little, we've been training together our whole life. And she's like, even though she's not an MMA fighter, like she knows me as a fighter and as a person better than anyone else. Like we have grown to this together. Like everything I do, I want her to come up with me. Everything I do is for me and my family and our legacy and our name and our blood, right? That just having my here, like she helps me cut the rest of the weight. Today she brought bath bombs, so we're doing bath bombs since we're quarantining. We're doing face mask. I got the J-Lo like a face mask, one for now, one for after the fight, after I'm bruised up, you know. We watch our shows, we stretch, I learn TikToks, like we have our little things that we do that just keeps my mind happy, my mind's like free from fighting, and just have a good time, because at the end of the day, we're young. I'm young, I'm 22, she's turning 21 now. You know, we have our whole lives ahead of us, and it's just important to enjoy these moments in our life that we're never going to get back.
And something I know you understand, you know, being a successful prize fighter this day and age, it's not only about being a great athlete and training diligently, it's also about self-promotion. Like every fighter really is a business. Like you are the CEO of your own business. And I see how difficult it can be for some fighters to manage all of that, because sometimes the fighters who are the best on social media are not that great in the cage. Like in your case, you seem to be doing an awesome job with all of those aspects. You're great with your fans. You're active on social. You're also going out there and kicking ass. Like how much joy do you take, Valerie, on being able to connect with so many people? Because I mean, your rise to success, which we're witnessing now, is not only about winning fights, which you're doing, but it's also about making impressions and becoming more popular. And you're checking off all those boxes right now. How good does that feel?
I don't, you know, something about me, and I think this is the reason that I've had so much success in following so early into my career, is that everything I do is organically. Like, I don't do anything for social media. I do things for myself and then post them on social media. I don't know if that makes sense. So yeah. I think that people, they really understand that this is who I am. You know, I'm not just a girl who's trying to market herself in the sport. Like, since I was little, I was fighting and I was dancing and doing photo shoots and filming shows, you know. Like, this is who I am, and I have a lot of talents and passions that come with me, and I just like to show them all, and I like being myself. I've never let anybody tell me who I am or who I'm not. You know, why would I do that now after I've worked so hard to get here? And let me tell you, it doesn't get easier. Every fight is harder. There's more critics. There's more this and that. But for all those critics, I have 200,000 people more who love me, you know, and that's what I have to keep. Like, another thing that I've learned to do is just, when I post on social media, get out of it. Don't look at anything. I post on Twitter, get out of it. I don't look at anything. It keeps me very focused. It keeps me true to myself. It keeps me away from evil eyes and people who are jealous and envious of me and don't want to see me doing well in a male-dominated industry. And I'm just staying true to myself, doing as much as I can in order to grow. But I'm not gonna lie, like, I train 2 times a day very intensely. The sport is very hard on the woman's body. Sometimes I go home and I just want to sleep, and I don't want to do any content. I don't want to work. I don't want to do my hair pretty. Like, I don't want to get my eyelashes done. it's hard, but I always find a way to rise. And like, if I give myself 2 days down, it's okay, reset. And tomorrow you're gonna go back, you're gonna spar, you're gonna go home, you're gonna shower, you're gonna blow dry hair, you're gonna take pretty pictures, and you're gonna try on your new outfits from Pretty Little Things or things like that. And really, that's the way I roll. I do things for myself. I do things because I love beauty and I love fashion and I love glamour, and I'm just trying to cross that over into mixed martial arts.
That's great. I respect your hard work, and I respect the fact that you're always being yourself. That's really, really cool. And I encourage everyone to follow Valerie and, of course, to watch her fighting this weekend. Bellator 259 on Friday night. Valerie Loretta, South Florida's own, is taking on Hannah Guy. Valerie, thank you so much. Enjoy the little quarantining you have left, and have an amazing fight week, and I look forward to watching you Friday.
Thank you so much, and thank you for supporting me and believing in me.
By the way, I like a lot what she said about social media, because with her it's not forced, right? I think that's really important, right? And we've always heard over the years about some fighters and some of the bigger names. Like I remember George St. Pierre had a social media intern.
Yeah.
Like he never actually spent any time updating his Twitter. And one thing that I never liked, about certain fighters who have had the manager Ali Abdelaziz, who's a bit of a hot button topic in MMA circles, but when fighters sign with his management group, they basically sign all their social media away to him, and they just post whatever they want to. It's like, no, I appreciate fighters who actually run their own social media, who do it authentically. And, like she said, nobody tells her what her image should be. Nobody tells her what to post. She's just being herself on there. And and I think fans can see the authenticity.
Yeah, and that's very important. And there's a generation growing up now. She said she's 21, right? So she's pretty young. There's a generation growing up now that they only know social media. We know a time that there was no social media, and now there is a social media.
Yeah.
So she gets it. She gets it. And that sounds like a future champion to me, not just because of the social media, but because of the mindset of being genuine, being authentic, doing things her way. As she mentioned, in a male-dominated industry, she seems very focused on her craft inside the cage and also what makes her happy outside the cage. And there has to be a balance. You can't be too heavily focused on one or the other, and that's how things kind of get derailed. So to be so young and to be so focused and worldly in that respect, major props to her. I mean, that sounds like a future champion to me.
Coming up next, are the Paul brothers the future of legitimate boxing? Every Saturday at 11 a.m., soccer fans can connect with Austin Robillard and Red Card Radio. From the Premiership to the MLS, catch up with your favorite team, including our very own Inter Miami CF. Listen to Red Card Radio every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. with Austin Robillard exclusively at OnSideRadio.com.
You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker. To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you smash the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night.
Now that it's springtime, it's only getting hotter here in South Florida. Make sure your AC in your home or business is running smoothly by investing in a preventative maintenance plan from M&S Air Conditioning. And M&S is a Mitsubishi Diamond Elite contractor. When you purchase a new Mitsubishi electric mini split system, you'll get a 12-year warranty. Or install a high-efficiency polarized air filter in your AC unit that captures and destroys biological contaminants to improve air quality. M&S Air Conditioning have been providing prompt, honest, and reliable service for over 30 years. Schedule service or call to get more info on our preventative maintenance plans. Call 954-421-3680 or visit ac-florida.com.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need them most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, First responders show up now. Let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org and make a difference today.
If you missed Onside Zone with Big O, you missed.
She's kind of young, so I don't know. She may not be into Van Halen much. Let's see. Hey, Ruthie, good afternoon. Are you a Van Halen fan?
You know, I just had to Google Van Halen. I'm not going to lie to you. I just literally have it on my computer right now.
The Onside Zone with Big O. Weekdays 11 to 1 p.m. Only on OnSideRadio.com.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodyAsDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody-Ass family. Dr. Moody-Ass is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyAsDental.com.
Hey, it's Toast, and no doubt last year hurricane season was one of the craziest we've ever seen. Well, Noah's saying once again, going to be another active season. So you need to call B&T Windows and Doors today and get PGT custom windows and doors installed like I did so that you are fully protected. Listen, there's no better peace of mind than PGT custom windows and doors when you're in the cone of death for a Category 5 storm. Call B&T Windows and Doors today to get set up. 954-233-0126. That's 954-233-0126.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker. To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you smash the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night. Here's Alex and James.
Jake Paul is off to an amazing start to his professional boxing career. 3-0, man. Now, I'll be completely honest. I have no idea who his first fight was against. Second fight, he knocked out a former NBA player. In his third fight, he knocked out a former MMA fighter who I've never seen box ever. Talking about Ben Askren. Like that was the weird thing. Like when Paul fought Askren for Triller a couple months back. Now, I'm not going to claim I'm a genius because I did still pick Askren to win the fight because I thought this guy's actually a professional fighter. The other guy's a YouTuber. But I was telling people for months that let's remember, if you haven't watched Ben Askren fight before, I'm not sure I've ever seen the guy throw a punch.
Yeah.
I'm seriously like he is such or was such a really good at one thing, and that was wrestling, former Olympic wrestler, but he literally only did that one thing. Like, he no interest in ever throwing hands.
Yep.
And so that probably wasn't the type of MMA fighter who should be transitioning to boxing.
Yeah, I remember seeing the training videos of Askren punching, and it just didn't look good. So there were some early alarm signs, but man, what a run. And now he's on Showtime,
That's the crazy thing.
Growing up, I remember Showtime, always having the up-and-coming fighters, the rising stars, and I guess maybe you can consider Jake Paul, a rising star in that respect. But I just think it just shows the changing landscape. It's not going anywhere. I think Kevin Iole mentioned that. It's a personality-driven business now, and it's not necessarily about who's the most accomplished, what the best fights are, and to Jake Paul's credit, one, he's a master marketer of himself.
Oh, yeah.
And two, he has perfectly picked opponents. Like I said, we don't know the first opponent, but that doesn't really matter. He was getting his feet wet.
It's probably some YouTuber or some I don't know. Who knows? So some child he just picked out of a random middle school. I'm going to beat you up, kid.
Yep. But Nate Robinson, former NBA player that a lot of people know.
Yeah.
Half Jake Paul's size in terms of height anyway. And beating him, put his name on the map, and he was the perfectly picked opponent for a person to make a name for himself and not put himself in a lot of danger. Ben Askren, a little more danger because of his background, but again, perfectly picked opponent. Absolutely no boxing background at all. And it kind of legitimized him in a way, at least beating a professional fighter. Now, he didn't beat a professional boxer yet.
Right.
But he beat a professional fighter. So I'm curious who he's going to, who's going to fight next. Like, who would you put him in against? I mean, he's called out pretty much anybody from Conor McGregor to, he took Floyd Mayweather's hat. That could. Yeah,
he's gonna end up fighting Floyd Mayweather probably. Like, and honestly, like this whole thing with Showtime, it stinks. Like, Showtime is selling out. Showtime is selling their souls to the devil because, like you said, James, for decades, Showtime boxing, you were getting legitimate up and comers, or you were getting the best of the best. Like, Mayweather for several years was fighting with Showtime. Pacquiao, fought on Showtime before, and now they're signing YouTubers. And it's like, yeah, I can give Jake Paul respect in that he has found a way to he's become the most 21st century millionaire you could possibly be. Because if you were to tell someone 30 years ago, like, hey, someday you're going to be able to make millions of dollars just by making goofy videos. They'd say, what are you talking about? Like, how is that possible? Like, you're probably thinking, oh, I have to become like a financial trader or something. No, you can just make stupid videos and you can make millions of dollars. And so he's obviously putting in work and training and learning how to fight because he's not a terrible boxer. Like, I've watched him. I've watched him his last two fights. He's got some skill and some raw talent there, but I don't think Showtime has any business signing a guy, like you said, who has not fought an actual professional boxer. It's disgusting to me. When he was fighting for Triller, we know what Triller is. Like, Triller is, it's basically, it's closer to the WWE than it is to professional fighting. Like, they're putting on cards strictly to entertain. Like, I remember in the 90s, when you had some of these celebrity boxing fights, like Tanya Harding, would show up and get her face smashed. And so it's like we basically reverted back to that. Like 20 years later, we're doing what we were doing, back in the 90s. And that's basically what Triller is. And if you're entertained by it, and I watched the Tyson versus Jones fight on there a few months ago, and I was entertained by it. I had a good time, but I also knew I'm watching basically pro wrestling. It's closer to that than actual boxing. And if you know what you're getting, that's fine. That's what Triller is. Those are the fights they're putting on. But Showtime boxing used to mean something. They are selling out. And, James, it goes back to what Kevin Aioli was talking about. And I didn't know that about Showtime, that the ratings have been piss poor for boxing and for Bellator. And it probably has a lot to do with the fact, like he said, that people are subscribing to ESPN Plus. There's a lot of combat sports on there. DAZN has a lot of combat sports, and I'm sure across the board, Showtime subscriber counts have been going down because people just aren't going to them for television anymore in general.
Yep.
And so they're only looking at dollar signs. Like, we can sign a guy who reaches millions upon millions of people every time he puts out a stupid YouTube video, and we're going to get a ton of subscribers by signing this guy. They are selling out.
Yeah, they're reaching for straws at this point. But as you mentioned with Kevin, I mean, look, there's only so many ways to split the pie in terms of someone's budget. So if you're buying a streaming service, you're probably going to get Disney Plus.
You're right, especially if you have kids like we do.
That will probably be the first. Yeah, exactly. See, we're thinking the same here.
Yeah, exactly.
And just in terms of value, I mean, the library and catalog is amazing. But
yeah, it is.
As a sports fan, you're probably going to get ESPN Plus. With that, and with that comes a ton of combat sports.
Yep.
Now, if you are really, really, really want to get more combat sports, DAZN is probably
that's
your
one I've never subscribed to DAZN. Like I did, like a friend of mine, like I watched a Canelo fight way back with a friend of mine who had DAZN. That's one I've never subscribed to, but I've literally subscribed to every other streaming service. I've got Paramount Plus now because there's Champions League Soccer on there. Yeah, I've got ESPN Plus. I've got Hulu. I've got Disney Plus, I've got Netflix, I've got Amazon Prime. Like, I don't know how many other services. Like, I have everything except for DAZN.
You have that much time to watch TV, man? You watch?
No, I don't. Which is like I'm just giving them my money for. I mean, I do watch. The thing is, like, I watch enough. Like, there's literally only one thing that I watch right now on Hulu, and that's The Handmaid's Tale. But it's like, okay, like once that season is over, I'm probably going to freeze my account for a few months, whatever. But it's like there's always one thing to pull me in from all these things.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I'm curious about this Mayweather Paul fight. Are they going to pack Hard Rock Stadium?
Yeah, I think it's going to be full capacity.
Man, I mean, what does that say about combat sports? If Mayweather and Paul can pack a football stadium, I mean, what does that say about the state of boxing? What does that say about combat sports fandom? What does that say about South Florida? Sports that a lot of the UFC is afraid to come down here. As far as having a big event, because they're afraid that they, for legitimate MMA fights, that they won't be able to fill out arenas or big arenas. And, what does it say if Mayweather, basically an exhibition fight, can come down here and pack Hard Rock Stadium? That's interesting.
It's funny because that's a fight I would much prefer to watch it live in person. Like if I was sitting at home, 0.0 chance I'm ordering it. Like I'm like there's no way I'm going to say, oh, you know what I want to do? I want to watch Floyd Mayweather against the Paul brother that sucks, because at least Jake Paul can fight a little bit. Like Logan Paul is a mess. So it's like. If I'm just sitting at home and I'm like, oh, let me order this, there's no chance I'm paying for that. But if I can actually go, which I'm going to, like I'm going to go to the stadium and catch it live, it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm with you. Hey, so on other celebrity boxing fronts, we did talk about this a little bit with Aioli, but I want to get your take as well. George St. Pierre has been approached by Triller about a boxing match with Oscar De La Hoya. And Dana White, to this point, is blocking it. And even though GSP has been retired and hasn't competed for a few years in mixed martial arts, he still is under contract. So Dana White has to approve it. The way Dana, he approved Conor McGregor fighting Floyd, even though he's under contract. But Dana White is not interested in approving this George St. Pierre Triller fight. Now, I can see two sides of this. I mean, on one point, it is Dana White's right to deny this, because GSP is technically under contract, and Dana probably feels like this really wouldn't, put our sport in a great light if he does this. But then on the flip side, it's not like GSP wants to do legitimate fights anymore. So at what point, are you just getting in this man's way of making a living?
So my theory on this is that Dana White is holding out. He's maintaining value in GSP just in case, the 5-10% chance that he comes back for a super fight. If GSP goes to fight Oscar De La Hoya in boxing, which he probably will lose.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though it's in a sport that he's not affiliated with, he's going to lose some of his luster. Less people are going to be interested in a comeback fight if he says, okay, yeah, I do want to come back for a super fight in MMA. He's going to lose, 30% of his audience that would, whatever. So my theory on that is that Dana White, he has GSP under contract. He has this jewel that if Khabib and GSP ever decide to come back together, and it would be the biggest fight in MMA history, as long as it's not 5 years from now.
Yeah.
As long as it's within the next 12 to 18 months.
Right.
He maintains that value. So I see it from that standpoint. That would be my theory on why he's holding out.
Now, there's another theory on that I want to get into when we wrap it up on the other side here on Onside Radio. Hey, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., Sean Stanley hosts the Square Circle Digest. Now, wrestling fans have a place to call home as Sean covers the very colorful world of pro wrestling. Tune in every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. on the home for sports fans worldwide, OnSideRadio.com.
You're listening to Fight Night with Alex Donno and James Walker. To join the show, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Make sure you smash the like button on YouTube and subscribe to the show on all platforms by searching Fight Night.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop. Inter Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at dangerousmindsbrewing.com.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common, preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodiasDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moodias family. Dr. Moodias is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodiasDental.com.
When you want local sports, 1260 WLESPN.
We're live and local.
Yes, what she said.
Well, it's what they wrote.
Look at it this way, honey.
Oh, no. Here we go.
At some point, this was all live, and wherever it came from, it was local there.
You get that look whenever you stretch the truth or when you need your laxative.
Ain't it awful? South Florida's choice for sports talk. OnSideRadio.com.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
If you're looking for a change from the everyday restaurant, then you need to get to Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Brats, Wiener Schnitzel, homemade potato pancakes, pretzels with mustard, and lots of German beer. And with daily specials, there is something for everyone. If you're up for a challenge, you should take their famous boot tour. Finish 30 boots of different varieties of German beer, and you'll receive half price on their beer for life. And you'll get to take home your own boot and Checkers Old Munchin t-shirt. They also have outdoor seating available in their new beer garden with live music, as well as carry-out, curbside pickup, and delivery. So, for the finest German food and beer, get over to 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant, or call them for reservations at 954-785-7565. That's 954-785-7565. We'll see you at Zagat Rated Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach.
Hey, it's Big O for EJD Construction, your custom home builder, additions and home remodeling. Our lives have changed. We're making our homes more of an oasis. Call the right place. Call the right people. Eric at EJD Construction for over 16 years. A-rated member of Angie's List in the Better Business Bureau. 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
Welcome back to Fight Night, exclusively at OnSideRadio.com. You can connect by text at 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Let's get back to one of the best combat sports programs in the business. It's Fight Night on your home for combat sports. OnSideRadio.com.
Been a fun show. We'll wrap it up in a few minutes here on Fight Night on Onside Radio. So, this was a little thought-provoking. I don't know if Dana White is this petty. We know he's petty, but is he this petty? So one of the theories out there as to why Dana is refusing to let George St. Pierre take his talents into Triller celebrity boxing is that White holds a bit of a grudge for George St. Pierre, who on a couple of different occasions was talking about and even attempting getting the fighters to come together to unionize.
Yep, I remember
And
that.
listen, we know that obviously a lot of big businesses are not pro-union because they don't want their, revenue share being eaten into. But, Dana White, and the Fertitta brothers are no longer involved in the UFC. But, of course, Dana White's background was with the Fertittas and Zuffa. And the Fertittas, who own Station Casinos, have been very actively in Vegas against unionization. There are a lot of casinos in Vegas that are pro-union, while the Fertittas and Station were very anti-union, and Dana White shares that same sentiment. So is it possible? Because some people think so. I like some conspiracies. I think this one may be a little bit too out there, and sometimes the best explanation is the simplest one, and that's basically what you said. Dana just doesn't want, a guy under contract for him taking a dumb, ridiculous fight like this.
Yeah.
But do you think Dana might be petty enough to say, hey, George, you tried to get these guys to unionize and eat into my profits. I'm going to stick it to you now.
I'm not buying that one. I mean, look, a lot of the things you mentioned are facts. GSP did try to rally the troops there for a union and everything like that. But, man, there's a statute of limitations on pettiness, right? I mean, that was years ago. I feel like, what was that, 5-6 years ago or so?
Yeah, it had to be.
It was a while ago. I just can't see Dana holding that kind of grudge for that long. So, yeah, I think that's more in the conspiracy theory, section. But what do you think the end result of this is going to be? You think he'll relent, or you think he'll just hold his ground and no GSP in the boxing ring?
I think he's going to hold his ground. And I think the fact that Ryan Kavanaugh, the CEO of Triller, is more desperate and publicly begging, I don't think that's helping his case.
Yeah.
Kevin Iole said it really well, that Dana probably views Kavanaugh publicly pleading with him as a sign of weakness, not a sign of strength. I don't think that's the way to get this done. I think if anybody's going to get this done, it would be George St. Pierre, not Ryan Kavanaugh, because there's no way Dana White would consider Kavanaugh to really be a peer of his.
Yeah.
So I think if George St. Pierre were to really have like a heart-to-heart with Dana and just kind of convince him this is really important to me, you should let me do this, then maybe Dana would relent. But I don't think that the approach that Triller is going with right now is going to get this done.
Yeah, and really, I think there's plenty of opponents that De La Hoya can fight that would sell tickets. I think De La Hoya himself brings enough cachet.
He should fight like Rampage Jackson
to sell
or
tickets.
something.
Yeah, I mean he could. You
the
can match
Rampage
him up.
a lot bigger than him, I guess.
That's true. But your point is taken.
Yeah.
That you can match De La Hoya up with pretty much just about anybody with a decent enough name, and I think it's a big enough fight. It doesn't have to be the arguably the pound for pound greatest fighter in MMA for it to sell tickets. But credit to Triller for going for the top guy, to kind of shoot their shot with that. But
yeah.
I think if they go 2 or 3 notches down, it still sell tickets, because De La Hoya is an interesting matchup pretty much against anybody. His comeback fight, even though he's 47 now, he's getting up there
it's
too.
up there, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, that'll do it for us. It's been an awesome time. Huge thanks to Abel, who does God's work over there. He does an excellent job. Big thanks to J.D. Burns, Valerie Loretta, Kevin Iole, all of our guests. Awesome this week. Huge thanks to James Walker. James, we'll do it again next week.
We'll be here. I'll be ready.
I'm Alex Donno. We'll talk to you guys next week on another edition of Fight Night right here on the only locally owned sports station in South Florida, OnSideRadio.com.
Welcome to OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world. No station in South Florida provides more live and local sports talk. This is like rock and roll with no music. Follow us on social media at OnSide Radio.
ADHD,